What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel for what may very well be my last Battlefront 2 video. Most of y'all probably saw it coming though, just because the game is in its final stage. But I do think this video has been long overdue for some time, getting a hero ranking down to see who really, in my opinion, are the best heroes to play as and the best villains. I'll be ranking both sides as just a list of 22 rather than the best 11 villains and then the best heroes. And yeah, what a journey though it's been through Battlefront 2. I mean, we've seen the highs, the lows, and then just as DICE was starting to pull this game together because of the rush timeline EA forced on them, EA made yet another mistake by canning the game, saying that it's in its final form and they didn't think they could get any more money out of it, I guess. But I strongly disagree. It seemed like a bunch of people were starting to just get into the game, if not start it for the first time. A lot of people were coming back to it from when it initially launched and was a pay-to-win game. But as most of you have known, if you've been watching my Battlefront videos, it's come a long way, and it is now not only one of the best games out there, but it's way different than when it first launched. And this list is tweaked for a lot of those adjustments that heroes and villains have gone through over the years that the game's been out, such as Darth Maul having a couple bugs here and there, Leia getting completely reworked, Chewbacca getting a pretty heavy rework, Han seeing a couple changes here and there with star cards. Bosk surprisingly hasn't been changed too much. Boba has pretty much stayed the same. Vader's saber throw has been buffed and then nerfed, and then Luke's been changed. I think, has Luke actually been changed? I feel like he definitely was, once or twice at least. But yeah, with all the heroes and villains going through different changes here and there, with the exception of a couple, of course. Yoda, I don't think ever changed too much. It seems right to put this video out now that the game won't be changing anymore. And that's pretty much it for the intro. This may not be the end of Battlefront 2 for me, at least, but it is expected to be one of my last videos for sure. So let's get into it. Well, starting right off at first, and by first I mean last in this case, 22nd, that throne goes to BB9E, and I don't really think that should be a surprise to anyone. I will say though that this list is mostly going to be about which heroes and villains are better than others, more as opposed to which ones are just straight up bad. BB9E is probably the only exception, like the only hero or villain in this case that I think is genuinely just never the best option, because at all times you have other heroes or villains to play as, like unless there's a special event. For example, let's say, because you can only have 2 heroes at a time. Let's say you have someone already playing as Phasma, so you can't be her. Your options then are BB9E or Kylo, and 9 times out of 10 I'll pick Kylo. And then if it's the other way around, someone's playing as Kylo and there's BB9E or Phasma, I'll pick Phasma easily. Phasma is way better than BB9E, and it's just because it's kind of hard, because his middle ability is considered his best, and even at his best ability, it takes a significant amount of time to kill people, and you can easily avoid it and just get out of his radius, so it becomes very difficult to kill actual opponents. AI, it's a little different, as you can see in this clip here. I'm absolutely murdering some of these AI, but in a typical online game, if your opponent has even half a brain, they will just stay out of your radius. And then his little shock prod doesn't do the best amount of damage, even with the star card. After you go on a kill streak, it increases damage, but even with that, it's not a whole bunch. So, and that's going to be it for BB9E. Moving right along to our 21st special character, I guess is what I could call him, rather than heroes and villains. We've got Chewbacca, and like I said, he's had a rework, and he's been nerfed and buffed, and he has definitely been through the works, and now I actually think he's in a pretty good space. His shot grenade in Heroes vs. Villains is absolutely devastating. If you have the right star cards, you can freeze the villains for a long period of time and then activate his middle ability, his Furious Bowcaster, and just absolutely shred. However, in in just regular infantry modes, he does have a bit of a weakness. He's just very hard to use and get kills with. However, his charge slam is way better than it used to be, and because of that, he is at 21 rather than 22. And again, like I said, this list is mostly going to be about which heroes and villains are better than the rest. He's not a bad hero at all, and at any point in time, given the right circumstance, I could get a great kill streak with him. Again, it just depends on the circumstance and the situation that I will be using him in. Coming in at 20, we've got Lando Calrissian, and honestly, I was very stumped. I didn't know if I should put Lando before Chewie or Chewie before Lando, and so in my mind, they're equal. Like I had to pick one. At the end of the day, I think I just flipped a coin to pick which one was better. Lando, he's absolutely dominant in what am I trying to say? Trooper-based game modes. He has that middle ability, Sharp Shot, or Sharpshooter, whatever it's called, and it locks onto as many enemies as he can see within his view, and then he will instantly fire and kill most of the troopers instantly. Heroes, I believe it just does 200 damage, and then with most with the aerials, it'll be an insta-kill. With the enforcer, it will not be an insta-kill. But with that ability, he's so amazing. He's got the that night vision, so he can throw smoke and then see through that and clearly see enemies and damage them. And then he's also got his, technically it's a shock prod, but then it's also a scanner if you let it sit there for a couple seconds. So that's again helpful in trooper-based game modes. But if you let it sit there for about 5 seconds with the right star card, it can shock heroes for a long period of time. So Lando's just going to be my 20th pick for this list. Moving on to 19. Alright, now I know I'm going to get some backlash for this one, but I just could not justify putting Rey any higher than 19th. I would just, so frequently, I would rather use a different hero. And then it's just, part of it's because of the game modes I play, part of it's just because I don't think she's genuinely that strong of a, I guess, saber hero is the best way to put it. She's got those 3 abilities. She's got that dash where she can rush with her lightsaber. That is the only offensive ability she has. And then she's got Mind Trick and her Insight. Insight is great for trooper-based game modes, don't get me wrong. You can spot all of those just villains, and then your teammates can also see it as well. However, Mind Trick, it's so easy to counter that. If you get hit by a Mind Trick, just keep rolling if you're an infantry trooper, or if you're a hero, jump really high in the air or fly with your jetpack. Or there's just so many easy ways to get around that. So Mind Trick being as weak as I think it is, the star cards to upgrade Mind Trick become not useless, because some people genuinely are good with Mind Trick, but I personally don't use it often enough to justify Rey being a better hero than she is. So that's why I put her at 19. But again, she's not a bad hero. I couldn't justify putting her in front of anyone else. So moving on to hero number 18. Alright, so Boba Fett at 18th in my ranking list. This one I genuinely don't know how people are going to feel about. I personally just don't use Boba Fett too often. I mean, I did get him max rank, but there's not too many situations where I'll pick him as opposed to other villains. And partially that's because of how powerful all the other villains in his class are. And by class, I mean Iden Versio, Palpatine, Vader. I'm definitely blanking. Oh, Bosk. Yeah, Bosk is pretty broken, just depending on the situation. But by no means is Boba a weak villain. Again, I just could not justify putting him above anyone else. He does have amazing abilities, though. His jetpack, for starters, taking him out of situations which are deadly to him. His concussion rocket, which now apparently will automatically take away the heat in a trooper's gun. Before, you had to equip a certain star card, or else it wouldn't do that. It would just concuss enemies and honestly, the concuss in this game is such a joke. It's not even, it wasn't even worth using that ability. He also has that for the hunt, which is his, I guess, radar, but it also makes his jetpack unlimited, which is super nice. He can fly for so much longer, and then he has his absolutely broken rocket barrage. You just need to be good at aiming it, and you can take out even some heroes if you get some good shots off. But yeah, Boba, I think pretty well placed, at least in this list. I'm comfortable with where I put him at 18th, and now moving on to 17. Oh boy. So now we are at Leia, and Jesus, Leia has been through the works. She used to be way lower on this list. I wouldn't have even considered her among the top 20. I would have put her at 21st, maybe even dead last. And now, with her complete rework, her gun is pretty much the same. She still has that E11 blaster, which is absolutely amazing. She's got her, I guess, squad shield is what it's called. And then now she has detonite charges rather than a flash grenade. So I'm actually quite comfortable with Leia being at 17th. She just, like I said before, that flash grenade, concussions, any sort of concussion device is pretty lame in this game. Like, if it doesn't have some sort of rendering of how quickly you can move from side to side, it's not a really good concussion grenade. And Leia's flash grenade was very similar to Boba's old concussion, where it would, I guess it would be like a bright white light, and that's if you hit them dead on. If you hit anywhere near them in the proximity and it wasn't like dead on that character, then it wouldn't be flashed at all. Like, half the time it didn't even work. So now that she's got detonite charges, I feel like 17th is the perfect position for her. She's pretty good in hero game modes, like Heroes versus Villains or Hero Showdown. Her E11 blaster becomes probably her main device for taking down villains. But in, I guess, Supremacy and Galactic Assault, her Squadron Shield and then her detonite charges, as well as her E11 blast, not her E11, her alternate fire on a regular pistol, it makes her a really great infantry trooper based hero, as well as a Heroes versus Villains hero. Alright, now Phasma, and boy do I have some fun with Phasma. She really doesn't, I guess she has a bad ability. Her staff strike is pretty bad. It's almost always better to gun them down. Her blaster just has a ridiculous amount of blaster heat that it can build, and you can even put a star card on it that it's like every kill you get an additional 3% blaster heat, and that's not just for Phasma, that's also for all of the teammates around her. Now, I made a different video for star cards, so we're not going to talk about that, but if you want to go check it out, link will be in the description. Phasma, just I can get crazy good kill streaks with Phasma. However, she's not like an overpowered villain. Like, I think she's perfectly balanced. She has a great automatic sentry droid, which helps lock down tight quarters, as you see me doing in this clip above. And she's also got Survivor, which gives her additional health, and I believe still boosts her teammates. It used to. I need to double check on that one. But it's all about that E11 blaster. In most of this clip, you will see me just continuously firing. You almost don't even have to click that that overheat button, which releases all the heat that has been produced by the gun. You can just keep firing, and then it'll eventually go down on its own. I typically press it anyway, but she's perfect. She's not too broken, she's not too weak, just an all-around great villain. And for 15th, BB-8. Again, I'm very comfortable putting BB-8 in the position I have. Sadly, BB-9E couldn't be like BB-8. BB-8 is just all-around great. He's really small, just like Yoda, so he's impossibly hard to hit. For those that haven't been playing the game too long, that maybe haven't figured out how to aim in the game. And I say figure out how to aim because it's very different than Call of Duty. It's relatively different than Battlefield. It's just a different type of shooter. So it does take some time to learn how to aim best in this game. on top of him being small, he has an excellent damage output. His shock prod is significantly higher than BB9E's, and he has that cable spin ability, which if you put the proper star card on, makes him, I don't want to say broken, because he's still not broken. Like you see, I'm taking tons of damage, and you can still die very easily as BB8. You need to know how to use him. But he also has that rolling charge, which is an additional attacking ability that BB9E doesn't have, so it makes him just way easier to use than BB9E. I'm comfortable putting BB8 at 15th. Moving on. Alright, now for number 14, Bosk. And I love Bosk. I'd put him at number 1 if I thought he deserved it. Honestly, I can't justify that. I'm trying to figure out a way to justify. I love playing as Bosk. I can play a whole game without dying as Bosk because of his health regeneration. Like, forever, if you escape combat, it will always regenerate to max health. Just stop taking damage for a certain amount of time, and bam, you go right back up to 600. You don't need to get kills. You don't need to do damage to players. You can just sit there and regain health. It's really nice, and it really helps stick with your team and push collectively, rather than just charging in with a lightsaber and hoping for the best. He also has these proximity mines, which are amazing for heroes versus villains, and honestly, just for most game modes. You throw them down, and it's an insta-kill for a whole lot of infantry trooper classes, and then for enforcer, I think it's like 2 of them will take out an enforcer, and 3 will usually do around half health to a hero. And then he has his Predator Instincts, which is just a little grenade launcher with thermal vision, which does, again, a ton of damage. His Sniper Rifle, which if you let charge up and headshot an enemy, will be a 1-hit kill to heavies and all infantry. And if you don't hit a headshot, then it's a 2-hit kill to a heavy, but still a 1-hit kill to the rest of the infantry troopers. His Dioxis Grenade, which is incredible. Again, like, Bosk just doesn't really have a weakness, in my opinion. As long as you can escape combat, you will continue to live and thrive as a Bosk. So there's really not a whole lot to say about Bosk. I would put him a little higher, but there's just so many good heroes and villains out there right now. Alright, yet another hero, or villain, I should say, where I think people may disagree, is Iden Versio. And honestly, I don't understand what the problem is with Iden. Her alternate fire on her gun is absolutely devastating. As you see, I'm one-hitting enemies right there. And yes, they were regular infantry and not heavies, but that's a one-hit for an alternate fire. It's basically a grenade. You just shoot across the map. I don't even have to aim that. You just fire. It's so easy. And then she, of course, has her TL50, which is the best heavy weapon in the game. And with the right star card, you can just build ridiculous amounts of heat. She does have an incredible sniper rifle. It is quite hard to hit people, though. You'll see me missing a couple times here and there. She's got her shock droid, which will shock opponents for far longer than I think it should. I've been shocked several times as a hero, and then I lose half my health to her. Just like that, because she's able to unload with her TL50, which shoots crazy fast, and as long as you get headshots with it, you can do a crazy amount of damage with that shock droid. And then she's also got the shield, so she gets in situations that she doesn't like and maybe wants to survive a little longer, bam, pop that shield and escape. She's got 650 health, whereas I really think she could get away with having 600 and still be an excellent villain. Maybe not ranked quite this high on my list, but I mean, come on. Like, I just don't see the problem that people have with Iden, and that's part of the reason I have her so high. Is just because I genuinely love her, and I put her where I thought she deserved to be. Some people may disagree, but hey, it's an opinion. All right, and for Yoda, 12th. I mean, I was a little hesitant on Yoda. I wasn't too sure. He actually hasn't been tweaked too much since the start of the game, which is kind of nice. He's been pretty consistent. So once you figured out how to play with him, at least for the vet that have been playing since the beginning, kind of like me, there hasn't been a whole lot to adjust to with him. So he's got his 2 abilities. He's got Unleash, which is that one on the left that if he blocks a certain amount of blaster fire, it will grow up to a maximum size, and then he can turn that into kind of force push like Luke's got. Then he has that middle ability, which will give him and allies around him health. And then he has his dashes and, of course, his saber strikes, Now he has 700 health, which I think is a solid bit, especially for a hero of his size. He is quite hard to hit for a lot of players. I don't ever have a problem myself, but I have noticed teammates struggle when they're trying to take down Yoda. He also has star cards that allow him to be better against villains, and I guess also star cards that would help in infantry situations. So honestly, he's just a really great, well-rounded hero. And then I actually don't think there's a whole lot that the game needs to do to him. Like, there's nothing that needs to be tweaked. There's nothing that needs to be changed. I really think he's good at number 12. And I don't think, well, if they were still editing the game, I don't think they would need to make any changes to Yoda at all. So moving on. Oh, Finn, how the community has wronged you. I believe Finn is one of those underrated heroes. I guess I feel that way towards a couple of them, but again, I've been playing the game for a long time, so I know how to use each hero and villain according to their strengths and weaknesses. And Finn, while he doesn't have a whole lot of strengths, the one strength that he does have, Deadeye, is absolutely broken in my opinion. You'll see a couple clips here where I am just tearing through trooper after trooper, and then now that each hero has a health on kill card, Finn is amazing. He's also really great in team-based game modes because he's got Big Deal, and he also has oh man, what is it called? It's his right ability. Well, regardless, they both help his team. So if he's sticking with his team, as most heroes should do anyway, especially the ones that are benefiting their team, you are a 10 times better Finn than that kind of Finn that will not stick with their team, because you can now boost your teammates as well as yourself. That Big Deal, that one helps give his teammates health as well as spots. Well, actually no, that one doesn't spot. It's his right ability. That's the one that spots. And then Deadeye. If you equip all 3 of the star cards that buff Deadeye, you will not only, I guess, okay. So you can equip those 3 cards, and then it will increase the damage of Deadeye as you get more kills, which will mean you have to use it less often to kill people because it's dealing more damage. And then there's also one of the cards that every time you get a kill, it extends its duration by a certain amount. And if you have it at max, I think it's 60%, which means basically if you're getting a kill every so often, it's going to last so long. Like you'll see in these clips that I'm getting kills and it goes right back up to max for the amount of time that I have for Deadeye. So I put Finn at 11th. Again, I may get some disagreements, but you know what? I can get some crazy high kill streaks with Finn, and all I have to use is Deadeye and Big Deal every now and then, and that's it. That's all there is to him. Moving on. Alright, now we're finally into the top 10. Feels good. Alright, and we've got Han Solo as our number 10. He's got that detonate charge, which is absolutely magnificent. Does not need to be tweaked. Please don't change it, DICE. Thank you very much. Then we've also got the sharpshooter, which, wow, that's also a good ability. It turns his main blaster into a rapid fire, and then I don't think it sacrifices a whole lot of damage either for each shot, which again is incredible. And then we've got the shoulder charge for the third and right ability. Shoulder charge is pretty much an insta kill for I think all but the heavy class, so assault officer and specialist. And then the detonate charge is an insta kill, just depending on how close you get it. If you have the airburst star card, it makes it significantly better. Now his blaster alone, the DL55, I think is what it is. Not 100% sure, to be honest with you, but it is an incredible blaster. If you can get headshots, it's an insta kill most of the time. And then body shots will take just about half the health away. For heroes, I always say go for the head anyway, but man, Han is he's just really well balanced. I don't think at any time he's too broken. Like if someone's using Han in heroes versus villains and they're absolutely destroying my team, I can switch to probably Grievous or let's think Phasma. There's just a couple villains that I could think of off the top of my head that can counter Han very well. So he's never really too broken, and I don't think he's too weak either. He just gets the job done. He's a good overall hero, and that's why I've got him right in the middle of the pack at number 10. Oh my goodness, Darth Maul, how this game has wronged you. So, with Darth Maul, there's a little bit of an explanation that needs to be had here. He would be ranked probably top 5 if the game had not screwed him over. First, let me go through his abilities. We got Furious Throw, which used to be a vertical lightsaber throw. So it was significantly harder to hit opponents, whereas now it's horizontal, so it's sideways, and it's a whole lot easier to hit them now. Then we've got his Choke Throw, where he chokes an enemy and then he throws them viciously. And then we've got his Spin, right? And then of course his standard saber attack, where he just slashes. But his Spin was probably his best ability for the longest time. It was the reason people love playing as Darth Maul so much. He has his star cards that allow him to be less prone to blaster damage, and he's got one that buffs, like it gives him an additional spin. He's got one with faster ability recharge. Like, he's just got really great overall. He's a great build, I guess is the best way to put it. And it's a great bonus that he looks super cool. He's a fan favorite. People love him. So they want to play with him all the time. The problem is, they fixed his Furious Throw, right? That was great. We loved that. This last update, I don't know what they did to it. I don't even know why they were tweaking Darth Maul. But now his spin attack is very, very buggy. Maybe they did it on purpose, maybe not. But 9 times out of 10, if I'm doing a spin attack, right? I can go straight through a clone trooper and not hit them and not damage them at all. And just because of that fact, because they say the game is in final form, so they're not doing any major tweaks. Instead, they may do a couple things here and there, and if it changes, then yes, Darth Maul, top 5 easily. He's a great villain. However, if that spin attack doesn't get fixed, then he is a solid 9, because you can really only use 2 of his abilities. And while those 2 aren't bad abilities, it restricts Darth Maul in such a way where you sometimes have to think about, is it worth trying to do your spin attack? And if you have a very limited amount of health and you need the health from the kill you're about to get, you may not want to have to rely on an ability that has been very inconsistently, I guess, accurate in getting the damage from infantry troopers, or even from heroes for that matter. So it's just a very inconvenient thing that you have to deal with when playing as Darth Maul, and that is the reason I have him at 9 rather than in our top 5, which he probably would have been if they hadn't have screwed that ability up. So it's a bummer, but Darth Maul is barely in our top 10. Alright, now for Dooku. And with Dooku, I mean, there's not actually a whole lot that I want to say about him. I can walk through his abilities. We've got the Lightning Stun, we've got the Duelist, and we've got the Exposed Weakness. Now, Lightning Stun, it's a little bit of a bummer. I was using a star card for that one that I thought was extending the range of Lightning Stun, because the range is just very, very short. However, it was only extending the width, so how wide of an array you can target people, like way off to your left or way off to your right. However, it doesn't extend the actual range of said ability, so that was a bit of a bummer. And then Duelist, it's not specifically an ability per se, it just piggybacks off of his lightsaber skills, so he deals more damage with his saber slash, he goes through his stamina slower, and then he can also block for a longer period of time, like I said, going through his stamina slower. Then we've got his Exposed Weakness, which for the longest time I didn't realize it actually just weakens the character overall. Like, let's say he targets Anakin, and then he slashes him with a saber. While yes, Anakin's going to take more damage because he's weaker to Dooku, he's also weaker to battle droids. So if Dooku hits Anakin with an Exposed Weakness and battle droids shoot at him, he'll take more damage from those battle droids. Or not more damage per se, but he will be more damaged because of his weakness towards that ability. Also, if you use that ability as Dooku and then finish the opponent off that you use that ability on, you will get an immediate recharge, and you won't have to wait for that ability to charge up over time. It'll just immediately be available. So that's pretty cool. Overall though, Dooku, I think right around 8 is perfect for him as far as the ranking goes. 750 health. It's very easy to regain it. And he's got a lightsaber, which is pretty cool. Hello there, for number 7. That was cringy. Anyway, we've got Obi-Wan, and he's got 3 abilities. He's got the forward dash, then, well, what is that called? Yeah, we're going to go with that. He's got all-out push, and then he has resistive mind trick. So, with Kenobi, it's a little bit more about his stamina than his abilities. Now, his rushing ability, though, oh, it's all-out rush. There we go. That definitely is not it. Whatever. His ability where he can run at you, block, and also slash with his lightsaber. That's one of my favorite abilities of his, and it's one of his only aggressive abilities. Well, no, I say that. Kind of like Rey, he has that mind trick where you cannot roll, but you could jump and you can move and stuff like that, so it doesn't invert your controls or anything. All-out push is just like Luke's push, however, you can charge it up, and it's a very narrow push. It's not nice and wide. It's like a big, long rectangle. Then we have that, the forward charge with his lightsaber. Now that one, I definitely recommend the star card. Like I said, I've got a star card video up. You can go check it out. But I would use his star card that gives him more damage if he's rushing at you with that ability, because it will one-hit all classes except heavy, and then of course enforcer and up, things like that have a lot more health. But Kenobi does have a whole lot more stamina, and not just for blocking, for slashing as well. So he is a very good hero to play as, not just in heroes versus villains, but also in infantry game modes, because he can just pop into one place, block a couple shots, and then get out of that place and go to a new place around the map. Which makes him very, very deadly. Which is why I believe he deserves our 7th spot on this list. And for number 6, we've got Kylo Ren. And I'm gonna be honest, I almost put Kylo a whole lot lower. And it's just because I hadn't played with him for a while. I guess he's been tweaked a little bit here and there, and now he's just so much stronger. Like, oh my goodness, he absolutely murders in heroes versus villains, and all of his abilities are very aggressive. He has Frenzy. Oh, actually, I thought I was going to use it there, but I didn't. He's got Frenzy, which you dash and go from target to target, and then there's star cards where you can go up to, I think it's 4 additional targets than the 3 you already go to. And he's also got this harsh pull, and he pulls enemies towards him, and he deals damage to them as he does that. And he's got that freezing ability, so he can freeze opponents, whereas let's say Captain Phasma is also on the floor, or basically any infantry trooper is near him. He can freeze those opponents, and his infantry troopers can just absolutely annihilate those frozen units, whereas if he slashes them with the lightsaber, they become unfrozen. So it's still an aggressive I guess ability, because those opponents can't do anything if they get frozen. They literally can't move. So whatever amount of health they have, hopefully it's enough to withstand at least one saber strike, but sometimes they don't, and it just depends on the situation. Overall, though, he's just a great team player. As long as you stick with your team, usually you can get some pretty high kill streaks. I think in this exact video here, I went up to like 110. I ended up playing the entire game as Kylo, which sometimes I feel bad about doing, because some people need to get heroes, but that's why I've got him at 6th. He's just a really great hero to play as. And typically when I'm playing as the First Order villains, I will pick him above all the other villains there, which in this case it would be BB-9E and Captain Phasma. Not that they're bad heroes, mind you, just like I genuinely believe Kylo is better in most circumstances. And of course, I had to give the Chosen One of our top 5 spots. And I guess it's because I found a pretty solid star card situation for Anakin. A little while ago, I would have put him probably in the top 3. However, they did nerf him quite a bit. And now I actually don't play with his additional health star card. I think 800 is absolutely plenty, especially for the other star cards that I use, which basically make all of his abilities a one-hit. So Passionate Strike, while not necessarily a one-hit, still does a ton of damage. Heroic Might, the base damage, add 50, one-hit. Harsh Pull, or maybe it's, actually I'm not 100% pull dominance. I don't know. Oh, pull dominance. Yeah. That one deals additional damage as well. It basically one hits all troopers except heavy, or all infantry troopers, I should say. And just all around, Anakin's a great hero. Already, he's got more health than Obi-Wan, who's got 750, which again is a lot. 800 is just a stupid amount of health. And the fact that he even has a star card, and you can have even more health. I think it's up to 900 is the max for Anakin. And then there's little boosts here and there, like with an officer class that can boost you. Just overall, I think 5th was a good, solid place for Anakin to be. He's a great hero. I did think he was broken a little while ago, but again, they nerfed him, and now I think he's right around where he needs to be. Alright, and at number 4, Palpatine, without a doubt. Could not argue a better case for this man. He has an absolutely broken setup. I think pretty much any player out there, any Battlefront player, can play as Palpatine and get crazy good kill streaks. Yes, part of it is in the star cards, and yes, I have a video out for it if you want to go watch that. But even with the wrong star cards, Palpatine is still a really good villain. He's got his crazy good lightning attack, which again has a crazy amount of stamina even without star cards. And we've got his chain lightning, which bounces from target to target, and in infantry modes it is amazing. His electrocute, which freezes enemies, which is, I mean, I guess that's pretty good in infantry modes, but it's very, very good in Heroes versus Villains and Heroes Showdown. But just all around, his dark aura, I can't, whatever. His middle ability basically creates a storm cloud around him, and everyone within his proximity is damaged. Even those saber heroes that are blocking. Blocking is supposed to make them immune to blaster shots and saber strikes and electricity. But the dark, that little storm cloud that he makes, it just goes right through it because I guess it fills the air with a cloud. And then the cloud that he's in just is electrified, so it does a little bit of damage, but it's unblockable damage. Then the chain lightning does a good amount of damage. The electrocute freezes enemies, so you can get some solid damage done in the meantime. But yeah, Palpatine 4th without a doubt. I don't think there's any way someone could argue that he could be any lower or higher on the list. And Luke at number 3. It was actually a little difficult picking top 3, and not who should be in the top 3. The 3 people I knew I was going to put in the top 3, I knew before I even started thinking about the list. I just right off the top of my head the 3 that would be up there. It was more of like a who should be 1, who should be 2, who should be 3. It was tough, but Luke ended up being 3rd. Luke is a very great saber hero, especially if you're just starting the game and you need to learn saber heroes. He's got his force push, which is great. It's much larger than Yoda's, and it recharges pretty quick as well. Then we've got repulse, which is a force push but on the ground. It makes a big circle around him. You can upgrade the size of that circle as well as the damage output with star cards. I personally don't recommend it because he's got better ones out there. And then he's got his dash just like Yoda. And just like Maul, but of course Luke's actually works. He also has a great amount of stamina, and his health at 750 makes him a very easy character to use just all around. So if you are just starting off with Battlefront and you want to get the hang of lightsabers, Luke is definitely the way to go. And he's even got a star card that every person you kill, you get 2 extra damage for your lightsaber slash, and then it goes all the way up to, I believe, 36, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it makes a lot of infantry troopers one-tap, so it's really nice to just slash, get a kill, and then move on to the next person. It makes the game very, very satisfying. So definitely worth a try. And at number 2, Grievous. It probably was even harder to pick between Grievous and my number 1 choice, just because I love them both so much, and it probably would have been, oh man, I want to say it would have been closer, but there's nothing really that would have brought it closer. Grievous's Claw Rush ability is amazing. Now, I don't actually use any cards to buff that ability, just outright bite, the default ability itself. It is incredible. especially with how much you can control it now, as opposed to how much you were able to in the past. His lightsaber slashes as well, while yes, they drain a ton of stamina, they do a ton of damage. And as long as you're not trying to block with Grievous, like use his relenting advance ability to block rather than his actual blocking. The only time you should ever use his blocking is if it's like a last resort. You need to block one shot before you disappear around the corner. Then he also has his thrust surge, which is just, I mean, Grievous overall is, in my opinion, broken. And I don't mind it at all, because honestly he needs to be. In all the movies he was broken, with the exception of fighting Kenobi. He seemed like he could not be stopped. As long as you could get away from a fight with Grievous, you can't be stopped. You're good to go. Like he can take so much damage, and there's so many star cards to help him out. You really just can't go wrong in any direction you take with Grievous. He also looks really menacing, which is a plus. He has 4 lightsabers, which is another plus. And he has 2 of them out at all times, which, I mean, it looks really cool. It's really fun to play as him. It's really satisfying if you have the right star cards set up. For example, the one that gives his sabers extra damage with his slashes. Yes, it drains more stamina, but it's so satisfying to just slash through a clone trooper with 1 saber slash rather than 2. Then his thrust surge, him launching across usually quite a long distance to get to clone troopers, and then his claw rushes. Oh, it's so incredible. But that's it for Grievous. Now on to our number 1, the long-awaited number 1 position. Now Darth Vader as number 1. I may not have the same opinion as some of you out there, but just putting Darth Vader as number 1 was probably I don't want to say one of the hardest decisions, but it was kind of nice, and it played out pretty well, because Darth Vader being the head of the Star Wars franchise, like he is probably the most known villain out there, other than maybe the Joker or something like that. But even then, I feel like he's still just more well known. So all around it's kind of nice to put him as number 1. Even though they have nerfed his lightsaber throw, where it does less damage after you've done a chokehold, it's still a 1-hit for many infantry troopers if you chokehold and then lightsaber throw. His focused rage ability, giving him extra health with his already crazy amount of health, is just incredible. His incredibly long-lasting stamina, as well as star cards to give him stamina back on elimination, is great. Just everything about Darth Vader is right. And I actually don't even think he's all that broken. Like, he hasn't been tweaked a whole bunch since the game has been launched, which is pretty incredible. Because at first I did think he was pretty broken, but now I think other heroes and villains have been adjusted to make him a pretty well-balanced villain. While yes, still being number 1, and no, I don't think he's broken in any way because of his saber throw nerf. He's just a great villain to use, and that is why I put him at number 1. So I do hope you all enjoyed this video. It did take a long time to make, and that is why it's coming out a whole week and not a week and a half, a whole weekly. Yeah. I had been working on it a whole bunch, but between work and it just taking forever, it took me a little longer than I thought it was going to, so it's coming out a little late. I'd really appreciate some support on it. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to smack the like button. If you didn't, go ahead and let me know what you'd rather see in the comments below, because I am always open to feedback. Anyways, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.